Such a good question. And I have been thinking a lot about this question as we've entered into our stewardship season. And it is my memory of my parents and the way that they modeled stewardship for our family in in our church, because not only did they give financially, and always made that a priority, but they also were very involved in leadership, in different ministries. One year or a couple years, they um, were chaperones on the youth ski trip, faithful in going to church, being lectors. So they modeled it and they lived it out without. Um, it's not like I have a memory of us ever talking about what stewardship was in our family. It was just modeled. It was stewardship in action. And I am so grateful for their modeling of that. It has been such a journey, this journey of stewardship, from coming from my faith background, and then marrying my husband, Paul, coming from a completely different denomination, and how we melded our understanding of stewardship and the way we were going to support the church, as a married couple, was challenging. Um, the whole the first thing that comes to mind is just finances, because as a young married couple with children, how are we going to make ends meet? This idea of, okay, well, we're supposed to give to the church, but it feels impossible. And so really having those hard conversations around, okay, well, what can we both feel comfortable with in order for us to support the church, support our relationship with God and lean into that, and realistically pay our bills every month and support our family. And so it has just been a really hard and beautiful journey, to go through the ups and downs of what that looks like, as a couple, as a family, and to be at a place where, at least in this moment, um, it we're in a place of understanding and we can really live that out, stewardship out. I have thought about this question in different ways, since becoming a priest, and more so, I feel like for stewardship, a lot of times the areas, it's about the finances, right? We tend to go there just naturally as humans, I guess. But here at St. Andrews, which I really love, is this whole idea of how it's a holistic approach. So how are we serving? How are we giving our time, talent, and so forth? And I do that as my job, as my calling. And so I really struggle with, where am I leaning into these practices outside of my work? Um, and that's what's changed. The financial piece, honestly, is the easiest because it's so cut and dry. Yes, here's our pledge every month. But it's, how am I serving others or helping those outside our parish, honestly, outside our church family? Where am I leaning into that work? And I don't know if I have the answer yet. I'm still figuring out this whole notion of being a priest and stewardship. I think about, again, I've said what stewardship means. So it's about caring, and talked about this in my sermon this past week, but the idea of stewardship is caring for that which has been gifted to you. So God's gift of life. Um, I don't know if I'm always consciously aware of this every day, day in and day out, but I go back to how my parents modeled so well. Stewardship is a spiritual practice. And I don't even know if they would claim that as a spiritual practice, but I think how one lives their life, um, in and of itself is this spiritual practice, so that I try to remind myself every single day, every encounter I have, the money that's been given to me, gifts or work or whatever, it's not mine. It's always how can I share whatever blessings I have um, with others. And so it's a daily practice. And I think, I hope, I pray, and we're not perfect, but I try to live that in all aspects of my life. And I certainly fall short, but it's a daily practice, just daily living. I have been so blessed in my work in the church. Prior to ordination, working in ministry for a lot of years now as a priest, and I've worked with children, youth, young adults. I have been in those phases of my life, being single, being married, having a family, kids going off to college, and each one of those stages of life. Offers opportunities and ways to lean into this idea of time, talent, and treasure. So, what I hope most of all is for people to, members, parishioners, to clear the, um, I think, expectations or notions, or the have to be's, or it has to look like this in stewardship, and really just spend time in discussion if you're married or have kids, or if you're by yourself, if you're single, like, where is God asking me to lean into? Don't feel like you have to do it all. What's doable? And just taking each bit, maybe just making one time idea, not promise, but commitment in each of those categories. But um, so taking that call seriously of stewardship as a holistic approach, and thinking about that, trying to engage in it and seeing what comes out of, what fruits, what plants are grown from this journey of stewardship.